This is the first book, and forgive me if I mutilate the name, in the Chronicles of Astranthia series.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, Payal, back to you. How many books do you have planned at this point?
Whoa.
I have planned it as a trilogy. And yeah, I'm currently drafting the sequel, the second book.
Sailaja, is it going to happen, or is Payal dreaming?
No, it's happening. I mean, it's happening. It's happening.
Let me just point out. Okay. Because we had this conversation literally this week. When she says she's drafting, okay, Payal is one of the most detailed writers, and she is so meticulous. It is, I mean, as a person who is not a meticulous person, just in general, to me it is amazing. But I received the draft of the second book this week. Am I allowed to talk about this? I'm looking at your face. I can't tell.
Yeah. I mean, you can share. And you're not talking to me. You're talking to Payal. So, like,
I was. Yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
Sailaja. Payal, are you okay with me saying a couple things?
It's all good things.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm going to say terrible things. Come on. We got on the phone earlier this week because it's been a rough run. We're all a little bit behind on our deadlines for reasons. And I missed a meeting with the lovely Payal, and she was very understanding about it. So she said, I just want you to look at it and tell me if it's good. She was like, can you just read it and tell me if it's good? Because I need to know that. And I was like, I am going to just open it up. I had a really hard day, and I just started reading it, and I started crying because it was so beautiful and so exciting. Like, the pacing is fantastic. There's a new character who's just amazing in it. And yeah, so the second book is pretty much like, it's a done deal. It's happening. She already wrote half of it at least.
Yes. You heard it.
Cool. Yeah. Cool.
Oh, by the way, Sailaja, yeah.
By the way, Sailaja. Yeah.
By the way, it's happening.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
So, okay, well, let's go through the process then a little bit. So, Payal's submission comes in. You, Amy, and you, Sailaja, you go back and forth. You both love it. So, how do you reach out to Payal? And then once you do, what happens next?
Yeah, so I think we reached out to Payal, and then we started chatting. Payal was in India at the time, and you were there for like an extended period, I remember. Right? It felt like you were there for a longish time.
I was there.
Yeah. And I think for a variety of reasons, our communications just were long. There were breaks. They were a little staggered. Some of it was me. Some of it was Payal. But then I was like, I want it for this season. How fast can you like edit? And she was like, you tell me. And that was that. And I think we worked really hard. I think we announced Payal like early in this year, like the beginning of this year, which is crazy to think. And she edited like crazy, submitted a couple of different edits and revisions. And I got it, and I was like, okay, so we're going to do the cover reveal in September. And she was like, we are? I was like, we are. I think she was terrified that I was still not going to take it for some reason. And that hadn't occurred to me as an option. Like, I was just like, I don't know. Like, let's keep going. But like our process is from start to finish. Payal's was, I think she had like a 6-month contract time frame, and maybe 3 or 4. Time makes no sense to me anymore.
Speaking of which, real quick, I should point out that we are talking in October of 2020, but of course, esteemed audience through the magic of time travel is listening in spring of 2021. Yeah. So hopefully by the time you're listening to this, esteemed audience, it's just broken out. COVID-19's been driven back. You're living in a wonderful world. Sorry,
I know. That's a great point. Like, because we're so like dark and despaired right now, and but yeah, it's better. March is in May, and it's great because Payal's book's coming out. Yeah. But I will say our process is fairly traditional: 3 to 4 months to contract. Once it's contracted, depends on the editing stage because it depends on the book, and then the illustrations sort of depend on there. We currently work at like an 18 to 22 month time frame for us getting contracts, signing authors and illustrators, and getting their books into the hands of the rest of the world.
Payal also had a beta reading, long beta reading process, which for aspiring writers, beta reading is a very important step in the process of creating and getting your books finished. Basically, what it means is that you have people who read your book as readers and give you feedback. So an editor will either do a line by line, which means smoothing out the text or telling you that there are mistakes. And they'll also do some content stuff. But you want someone who's a reader to look at the book and say, I was confused by this, or this didn't seem right. And you want to get those reactions from actual readers. So how many beta readers did we have?
I think 4.
I think it was more than 4.
No, we had 3 from Mango and Marigold.
Oh, yeah, and I had 2.
Okay.
So, yeah, correct. We have 5.
Yeah, which is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It was a lot. I think my book, I remember the email that I received from Sailaja. Like Sailaja had pointed out that I emailed Mango and Marigold Press, back then was Powered Babies, June of 2019. And then September, I received your email because I had decided that I was going to go and get a mani-pedi that day because I was just, my daughter was born in May. So, it was like I needed to feel a little bit pretty and get out of the house. And my book was going, nowhere with agents. And I had assumed that Mango Marigold Press weren't interested either. And I was getting my manicure done on my right hand. And my phone beeps. And with my left hand, I see that I've got an email from Sailaja. And she said that I'd love to chat. And you have no idea how many times I had dreamed of reading something like that. That I was in shock and my heart started pounding. I was so excited. I would leave everything and run back to my car so I could read the email properly. But she said that she really loved the manuscript and she would love to chat with me. And then we arranged I wrote back saying, yes, I'm interested. Yeah. And then I think the thing that Sailaja said, that my only caveat is that, you will be our first MG release, and that you will have to work very closely with the design team and the whole team, basically the production team and the design team. And I was like, that's like a fantastic caveat. And I'm, it almost seems fortuitous now that whatever I had, all of the experiences I had previously through my agenting process and stuff like that, when I met, we spoke, Sailaja and I, and then even Amy and I spoke. And when Amy and I spoke, and she told me that she really loved the world. And for me, because that had been my biggest I thought it was the weak spot in my book, and I wrote it because that was my experience growing up in India. And Mumbai is a very urban city. It's a very multicultural city. It's, we have access to all of the media. And so I basically grew up, loving the Backstreet Boys and Keanu Reeves. And I watched a lot of Hollywood movies. But at the same time, I know 4 Indian languages and all of our traditions. And so the life that I lived was very Indian, but also it had a lot of Western influence. All the books that we read were primarily British, and then also from the States. So I had a very East meets West sort of upbringing, and that was my experience. And so when I wrote intuitively, when I wrote Astranthia, it was it was that experience. It was a very global experience, is what I call it, like local meets global. And that was my utopia for Rhea and the Blood of the Nectar. And then when I was, when I went through the agenting process, it was my weak spot. And I didn't realize, I mean, never wrote the book for it to be marketable. Well, I should have, I guess, but I didn't think about it. They say write what you know, so that's what I wrote. And so when Amy said that she loved the world and that she understood why, like she never questioned for 1 second. She never asked me why did it have Welsh influences along with a bit of, Indian or Eastern, and like she just got it. And that blew my mind. And that was what, and I loved the caveat that Sailaja said, which was like work together, because I mean, this is my baby. And both those two things combined, I had no doubt in my mind that I wanted to, get it down on paper with Mango and Marigold Press. It found the perfect house, and it didn't matter that they were a smaller independent press. I think that the fact that we're here on your podcast just shows that,
yes, you've made it.
We've made it.